In last week's video, I sent myself on a mission to test a few cameras to see if any of them could replace my Sony Alpha 1. Over the past year, I've fallen in love with photographing the Milky Way, so it's essential that these cameras perform well in extreme low lighting conditions. So after landing in Portland just before sunset, I booked it over to Mount Hood in hopes of capturing the Milky Way on our first night here. Holy smokes, guys. Welcome back to the Pacific Northwest, this time during Milky Way season, and this time where we can get to a lake at the perfect time. Wow, this is absolutely incredible. But we are out here tonight at Lost Lake. It's a super calm, super clear night, and we've got the Milky Way rising right next to Mount Hood. Got here a little bit late, so I didn't capture the Milky Way fully coming up and crossing Mount Hood. If I have some desire, maybe I'll come back for that shot tomorrow, but I think in all honesty, I think I'm going to be pretty happy with these shots here today. But besides the whole point of us coming out here to experience this beautiful night was to test out the different camera bodies that I mentioned in my last video. I'm looking for something smaller and cheaper to replace my main camera, the Sony Alpha 1, in case I end up destroying it once again. So when I originally purchased the A1 a few years ago, it was to replace my broken A7R III. And the more reasonable choice probably would have been to pick up the 61 megapixel A7R5. But for astrophotography, I was a little bit scared of that 61 megapixel sensor introducing too much noise for astrophotography. And at that time, I had a little bit more budget to spend on an Alpha 1, so I just bit the bullet and got the Alpha 1. And I've been using it and loving it for the past few years. But after breaking the camera and filing the insurance claim, I realized, yeah, it's probably not the wisest idea to have the Alpha 1 as my main camera body if I'm just going to destroy it every couple of years. So I picked up two cameras here to test tonight against the Alpha 1 to determine whether or not either of them could be a suitable replacement for the Alpha 1. So the first camera we got here is this guy. This is the Sony A7CR. This is basically an A7R4 and an A7R5, the 61 megapixel sensor squeezed in to a small, teeny tiny camera body. And I really like how small and compact it is, but again, I'm scared that that 61 megapixel sensor is going to bring in a bunch of noise into the shots. And it's basically physics, right? When you have such a high resolution sensor at 61 megapixels, each of those pixels are going to be really, really small and really densely packed into the 35 millimeter full frame sensor. And because each individual pixel is so small, it reduces the light gathering capabilities of each of those individual pixels, which means more noise. The late and great Alan Wallace has a video explaining sensor size and megapixels. I'll link it up here if you're unfamiliar with that concept. The second camera that I tested out, I've actually left it out on a time lapse because there's no way I'm not taking a time lapse of this beautiful scene behind me, but it's the A7C Mark II, and it's the 33 megapixel sensor, and I'm actually quite familiar with that sensor because I shot with the A7 IV for a while as my video camera as well as my time-lapse camera. It's a pretty well-balanced sensor. It doesn't quite have as good of resolution as the A1 at 50 megapixels or the A7CR, but it still does a pretty good job at capturing beautiful stuff at night. In fact, if we go by that same concept of pixel size and light gathering capabilities, it should actually perform better than the Alpha 1 in low light, in theory, but that's what we're going to test out here tonight. And one of the reasons why my Sony ZV-E1, my vlog camera, is so good at capturing video in low light is because it's only a 12 megapixel sensor. So each of those individual pixels are very big. They can gather a lot of light. And when I'm recording video at a lower shutter speed, at a higher ISO, there's a lot less noise in the shot and it's actually usable for video. But 12 megapixels is not exactly great for photos, especially if you want to print your images quite large. So I've ruled the vlog camera and this sensor out of this competition, but that's just an example of why pixel density and why lower megapixel cameras are better, quote unquote, in low light. So yeah, we'll probably take a look at all of the shots that we got tonight, especially the ones with, you know, comparing all of the different cameras and just see which ones performed the best for Milky Way photography. But yeah, I think just a real quick vlog in the field here. I think most of our analysis is going to take place at home. Just going to let these time lapses run out. The conditions that we got on our first night was absolutely amazing. The air glow was so intense, but because I got onto location late, I was rushing to set up and I ended up not testing these cameras accurately. I'll explain what happened later on, but before we could redo this test, I went back out to the lake to capture sunset. Beautiful. All right, good afternoon everybody. We are back here at Lost Lake, this time shooting sunset. Yesterday or last night when I was shooting Milky Way, I accidentally got my feet wet because there was a branch that came loose and I slipped and fell into the water. So today I got my seascape stuff. I got my, whatchamacallit, my Tobbies on with NRS boundary socks all the way up to the knees. So if I need to walk into the water, it should not be a problem. It shouldn't get me too cold out here this evening. I can feel the coldness of the water, but I can't feel it at the same time. It's gonna be a very, very chill sunset. We have about an hour until the sunset, so I'm gonna set this guy up on a time lapse to just catch the alpine glow setting over the landscape. But yeah, just gonna get one single time lapse. I don't think we're gonna be doing anything crazy here, but that time lapse should go for about an hour. We'll go back to the car, dry everything off, camp out in the car a little bit while we wait for Milky Way. I'm flying my drone, looking towards the horizon, and I see a whole bunch of thick clouds kind of blocking the horizon. So that might snuff out a little bit of our light here, and I think it kind of already is. Because of all those clouds, I decided to land the drone, but man, was that a mistake. Ooh, this time lapse is gonna look so sick. It's just getting brighter and brighter and more intense. Wow, what a treat. Smokes. How gorgeous is that? Right when I said, I think that's gonna be it, then the light does something incredible like that. Man, I wish I was flying the drone right now, but I already landed it and put it away. Oh, and just like that, right as the best of the light is hitting that top peak, the water just, boom, goes straight into a mirror. Right when you least expect it, that's when Mother Nature will give you exactly what you're looking for. That used to be a common theme for these vlogs, is that just pack up your stuff and then Mother Nature will present you with what you're looking for. But today, it really did take it to a whole nother level. Anyways, we're gonna do one more Milky Way session, but gonna sign off here. Enjoy this time lapse, enjoy these photos, because man, this sunset was just next level. All right, everybody, welcome back to Lost Lake. There's still just a hint of like ambient light from the sunset still lighting up our sky, but you can actually start to see some stars coming out. So I figured I'd try to just at least get set up early before we, do our testing. So I know that we tested our cameras head to head against each other, or at least I said that we tested our cameras head to head with each other yesterday, but I made a little bit of a boo-boo in that video. Instead of taking all the shots with very similar settings, there were a few settings that I messed up. The main one being the electronic versus mechanical shutter. For my A7CR, I was using the mechanical shutter, and that ended up looking the cleanest out of all of the images, which surprised me. But then I remembered that I was using the electronic shutter for the other two cameras. So today I'm going to try and redo the test with the mechanical shutter for all of them. I'm not quite sure why. I'll try to find some information on why the electronic shutter produces more noise. But yeah, we're going to try and redo the test tonight, see if we can get some more accurate results. But yeah, let's see if we can just get set up and hopefully capture some good stuff here once again tonight at Lost Lake. We let our cameras time-lapse the Milky Way rising over Mount Hood, but there was a pretty strong breeze that came through and messed up our reflection. But that gave me the perfect excuse to bail on our time-lapse and do a proper, accurate test with each of these cameras. Let's analyze the results. Hi guys, it's Editor Spencer here. Instead of boring you guys with a side-by-side analysis of each individual image in Lightroom, let me just summarize my findings and kind of show you guys some head-to-head examples here in the editing studio. And I'll also leave a Google Drive link to the raw files taken on this night so you can pixel peep them to your heart's content. Just remember that these files are my copyrighted images, so don't go flaunting these mediocre Milky Way shots with no reflection in the lake on Instagram. The test results really surprised me because the winner of this test was actually the Sony Alpha 1. It performed the best for noise, especially in the shadow areas. I'm assuming it must be due to the nature of the stacked sensor and its really fast readout speed. And if we take a look in Lightroom here, you can see in our shadow areas, there is some noise, but it's relatively clean. You don't see a whole lot of hot pixeling going on. I was very thoroughly impressed with how well this camera performed in these extreme low light conditions. And in second place for this test came the A7C Mark II. And it was fairly surprising to me. I thought that the lower resolution camera was going to look cleaner in these extreme low light situations. I thought that this camera would outperform the Alpha 1. If we compare these two images side by side from these cameras, we've got the Alpha 1 here on the left and the A7C Mark II on the right. If we zoom into our foreground, you can see that on the A7C Mark II, there's a lot of this hot pixeling going on in our shadows. And that really surprised me because I thought lower resolution, the pixels are bigger, so they should be able to gather more light and produce a cleaner result. But overall, I still think it produces a really nice and strong Milky Way image. Relatively noise-free in the sky, produces a very similar result to the Alpha 1, which is solid. Now when it comes to this guy here, the A7CR, I guess you could say that it was right for me to be afraid of the 61 megapixel sensor from this guy. Because when we compare it to the Alpha 1 here, you can see in the shadows, there's a lot of hot pixeling going on here. Just a whole lot of noise from that sensor, producing really, really bad noise, especially here in the shadows. But looking just at our Milky Way, I still think it's a pretty good result. You can see a lot more visible noise here, especially in the darker areas. It's not horrible, but I would definitely say it performed the worst for Milky Way photography out of all three of these cameras. Now there are ways we can work around this if you take 5-minute exposures at a low ISO for the foreground to reduce the noise, as well as blend a single exposure of the night sky, or maybe take a tracked image of the night sky. Essentially, if you can find workarounds to reduce the amount of noise in your frame, then this camera is more than capable of producing strong astrophotography images. But all of those techniques that I just talked about require more time both in the field as well as in post-processing to achieve a good result. And because I do a lot of Milky Way time-lapsing, I'm just not sure that I would be comfortable using the single exposures that come out of the sensor because the level of noise is just too extreme for my taste. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you guys see a big difference in noise between all of these files, or are they close enough that it doesn't even matter? Perhaps I'm just looking for any excuse to keep the Sony Alpha 1. But I hope you guys found this video at least a little bit helpful if you are deciding between any of these cameras. If you like this type of content, photography, travel, vacation, and a little bit of education, then make sure you hit that like button, comment below, and subscribe. And make sure you tune in next week where we compare all of these cameras in more reasonable lighting situations for landscape photography. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.